I'm in the Omo Kibish field region in southern Ethiopia. This is the Ethiopian part of the Great Rift Valley. You can see behind me here, the greenery is the trees alongside the Omo River. And across the river there, you can see some of the badlands that are the Omo Kibish Formation. That formation has provided some of the really interesting skeletal evidence of early modern humans. So this is a really important area from the standpoint of human evolution. The Great Rift Valley is an enormous geological feature that stretches down most of eastern Africa. It begins in the Afar region of Ethiopia, that's north and east of here, down through Ethiopia to the south, through Kenya, through Tanzania, as far south as Malawi and Mozambique. It extends right down the length of eastern Africa. What's going on with the Rift Valley is that part of Africa is being pulled away from the rest of the continent. And as Africa begins to split, the land in between begins to sink. And so the rift represents a sinking geological formation. That sinking has made for some very interesting geology. Lots of times people ask, why is it that there's so much evidence of human evolution in Eastern Africa? One possible answer is that early humans and early hominins arose in Eastern Africa. We might imagine that Eastern Africa was hominin territory and the ancestors of chimpanzees and gorillas and possibly other apes lived in other parts of Africa. But we now know that there's quite a bit of early hominin evidence in western and north central parts of Africa. It's probably not that early hominins are only emerging here in the eastern part of Africa. It's probably a much simpler explanation from the standpoint of geology. You see, the geology of the rift, with this sinking area in between two separating portions of the African plate, the African rift presents a very interesting geology. Here you're looking, the Omo River, which flows south from here into Lake Turkana, is a drainage basin that does not go to the ocean. It goes into a permanent lake, which is here in the rift. And there are permanent lakes right down the entire length of the Rift Valley. The major lakes of East Africa are rift lakes. That rifting, the production of rivers that flow in the middle of the rift and lakes that are accumulating sediments from those rivers, creates the opportunity for sedimentation that preserves fossils. And what's more, over time, as the Rift Valley continues to sink, the geology changes, so that today, where Lake Turkana is, south of here in Kenya, is not the same place it was 100,000, 200,000 years ago. Instead, the Omo River of the past, which flows south into Lake Turkana now and flowed south into Lake Turkana then, met Lake Turkana right about here. So we're looking at the badlands that have layers of sediments, which are river delta layers, that the Omo River is entering Lake Turkana and laying down its sediments. We see layers that contain fossil crocodiles, fossil fish, fossil storks, and also fossil hippopotamus. So you've got a very different paleo environment then than you do today. When we see the lake has moved to the south, the Omo River and its tributaries have begun to downcut through those ancient sediments and expose the fossils that were laid down 100,000, 200,000 years ago. This process by which the lakes and the rivers are laying down sediments, and later the lakes shift and rivers cut through the sediments, means that we can find fossils here from the time period that the rift has been forming. And that time period goes way back in time. We have Miocene sites in the Rift Valley, we have Pliocene sites, all of hominin evolution in the Rift Valley, right up to evidence of modern humans here in the Rift Valley. The Rift Valley has created enormous evidence of hominin evolution because of the exposures of rock layers that were forming at the time that hominins lived here. It's a very unique opportunity, a window into the past in different times of hominin evolution. And it tells us quite a lot about the lifestyles of hominins and their paleo environments. It doesn't necessarily tell us where early hominins lived. they probably lived over much more extensive areas of Africa, including further to the east near the coast and further to the west across western and central Africa. So that's the Great Rift Valley, one of the really important ideas in hominin evolution.